Maverick Silens.
Hi guys, Caroline CHAUVET here with product manager Ben Dickmann. Today I'd like to introduce you to the newest way we're pushing the envelope with LED technology and a new way of thinking of our Maverick moving heads. Maverick Silens 2 Profile is aptly named Silence because it will never be noticed due to its sound. The LED moving heads are 100% convection cool, totally fanless, and unnoticed in applications where silence is critical. Designers have been hoping and dreaming for a fixture like this for years. It's here now after blood, sweat, and tears from our product development team. Ben, do you hear that?
Hear what?
Silence. As you can see, the units are on now and will continue to run throughout this entire session. We'll stop at multiple moments to appreciate the ultimate discretion that they provide. So Ben, you led the development of Maverick Silens 2 Profile, the quietest LED fixture ever to hit the market. Before we deep dive into the technology, what sparked its development?
So what sparked the development, as you say, was really, as the name suggests, silence. Beyond that, we wanted a fixture that was unsurpassed in light quality and would, as you say, go completely unnoticed in any application, especially those applications where noise is paramount importance, like performing arts, broadcast, house of worship, and the like.
Okay, so hand in hand with this need for discretion was a need for an uncompromised light source.
Absolutely. The unsurpassed quality of light was a huge importance. And also, we wanted a fixture that was single-man capable, which means one person can take it out, hang it, maintain it. You don't need a two-man lift. You don't have a fixture that weighs over 100 pounds and is 4 feet tall. We wanted something in a form factor that designers are already pretty accustomed to.
Ben, can you give us an overview of some of the fixture highlights?
Sure. So we started from the ground up to create a purpose-built fixture utilizing cutting-edge optical and cooling technology housed in the smallest build possible. The unit delivers over 11,000 lumens with 100% convection cooling. There are no fans in this unit. The motors and effects have been tuned for near silence and smoothness. We wanted the fixture to be silent in all regards. Of course, to cool a high-power light source such as this, you need to have a sizable amount of passive cooling, and we do, but never before has this much output been conventionally cooled in this small of a package. It was a monumental effort to get the level of performance we did in this size of a unit.
So at its core, Maverick Silens 2 Profile delivers an uncompromising quality of light with all of the effects and features designers would expect in a moving head, but does so in total silence. Let's dive into the technology of that silence factor.
The silence factor for this fixture comes from the fact that heatsink technology and LED technology have come to the point where we can fit a high-power LED with a high-performance heatsink and not need the fan to blow air across it. Previous to this, you'd only been able to accomplish that if you used a massive heatsink and a small LED. This allows us to still push a lot of lumens and keep the fixture completely quiet. You can see we've had the fixtures here running. There's actually 4 fixtures in this studio running right now. We're both mic'd up, and you can't hear them. There's nothing to listen. There's nothing to hear.
So discretion is key to this fixture.
Yeah, everything about this fixture needed to be discreet, or as discreet as we can possibly make it. Beyond, of course, the heat sinks and the silence that we talked about, we also wanted the fixture to be as compact as possible. So we've scaled this fixture to be about the same size as an MK3 profile. It's very close in both physical dimension and weight. So if you're accustomed to that fixture, you're accustomed to this fixture. Beyond that, we also wanted to design the housing, as you can see, to be extremely sleek and smooth with very nice curves and minimal distraction to the eye, and allowing the fixture to just disappear into your rig so all you can see is the effect on stage, and your audience, be it a symphonic audience, a theatrical audience, even in a broadcast studio or a house of worship, people are looking at the performance and not what's generating the light.
So to dig even deeper, the CMY CTO color mixing on this unit is also fantastic.
No, the heart of this fixture is really the light engine, and I'm very proud of this light engine. It's a completely custom designed, unique light engine to us. It's a 560 watt total wattage engine that uses predominantly 6,000 Kelvin white LEDs, but there's also a 60 watt RGB integrated into that that helps us get those 11,000 lumens out of the fixture and also allows us to have that super high CRI and TM30 scores. The fixture is really designed to be used in throws of 30 to 50 feet, give or take. You know, you can go plus or minus that, either way you want. And the zoom range that it uses is a 10-to-1 zoom, so it goes from 5 to 50 degrees. So beam angles that most theatrical designers are very comfortable with and can really understand and use effectively on their stage.
So we'll talk further about the aspects that this unique quality of light brings to the unit. Let's talk about the color metrics and quality of light.
So as we've been mentioning, the quality of light out of this fixture is amazing. We're pushing 96 CRI in just its native 6,000 Kelvin. And if you put in a little bit of CTO and warm it up, you can push almost 98 CRI with it. TM30 scores are almost perfect. And if you want to look at things like TLCI or R9 values, or just how this the delta UV of the light source itself. We've recently launched new photometric reports on our website, and if you go to the webpage for the Silens 2, you can see it there as a downloadable PDF, and it'll give you all of the information about just how perfect this light is in terms of quality of light.
Having a extremely high native CRI, we did something unique to the light engine of this fixture that plays into that plus-minus green temperature adjustment.
Yeah, so I touched on it a little bit earlier, but the light engine in this fixture is completely unique to us. It was custom designed for us for this fixture specifically. Where most light engines for moving heads are usually an array of LEDs very tightly packed in a rough circle rows that make up kind of a rough circle. This one's actually ring-shaped. So we have a ring of these 6,000 degree Kelvin white LEDs, and then in the center, there's a single RGB LED that runs at about 60 watts. The purpose of that LED is to help augment the color of the fixture. So when you're dealing with on-camera applications, like for studio or house of worship in IMAG situations, you can push the color temperature of white in the plus or minus green range 25 points either way. This helps you to match other sources in the room, like you see on us here, or to match camera sensors so that colors and skin tones read correctly. It's just one of the little tricks we use that LED for, among some other things.
So to dig even deeper, the CMY CTO color mixing on this unit is also fantastic.
When you design your own light engine, you get the opportunity to design your own CMY modules. So we spent an enormous amount of time working with the shades of our CMY to create the best possible colors we could for this type of fixture. So with these very beautifully saturate cyan, magenta, and yellow flags, we wanted to make sure that the colors that came out of them when you started mixing were also equally beautiful. So when you look at your secondary colors, you go into the red, green, and blue, you can see how perfectly saturated they are, and especially the red. I'm especially proud of this red because it really is red. You can't tell that this is a CMY red as opposed to a color wheel red because it's that good. It's not that what I like to call raw orange, because most CMY, when it makes red, makes this rusty, orangish, reddish color, which really isn't that pleasing.
That red is really gorgeous.
Isn't it?
There's no orange in that at all.
No. We're very proud of that. Usually, if you get that, you have a real problem making pastel colors. This fixture doesn't have that issue. Because of that painstaking labor we took to match these colors up perfectly, you can still get all those beautiful pastels that theatrical designers are really favor, but you can punch into those saturates whenever you need to. Speaking of punchy saturates, you can also use the color wheel that's on board. We have a color wheel that has very basic standard saturate colors that you can step through or roll through or even split. They're hexagonal colors, so they butt up real nicely, so you can do really nice split colors that are fully indexable. So you can put that split dead in the middle, you can put it onto the side, you can put it anywhere you want to get just the exact effect you want. In fact, that's how that effect is going on back there. That's using a split color. Beyond the colors, we also have a variable CTO flag on board. That variable CTO flag is, again, to take that 6,000 degree Kelvin source and warm it up so you can get all those beautiful warm color temperatures, 3,200 Kelvin, tungsten matched, and still maintain excellent quality of light that looks beautiful on any skin tone.
So in addition to that, the dimming on this unit is fantastic. Guys, you have to see this. Ben, before I turn it over to you, let's start with a typical dimming, standard, 0 to 100% over 10 seconds.
Wasn't that nice? Dimming is something that we really hung our hat on this fixture. I want to go back to when we were talking about no compromises. When we were developing this fixture, we went out into the marketplace to find what is the best way we could possibly dim these LEDs. Since we were building our own engine, we wanted to do everything. So we found these new state-of-the-art high-frequency drivers. Dimming on this fixture can be done through two different pulse width modulation methods, either 20,000 hertz or 40,000 hertz. The best dimming performance from this fixture comes at 40,000 hertz. That's probably kind of counterintuitive to most people because normally it's these lower pulse width modulation frequencies that allow for better dimming. Not so with these drivers. These drivers allow you to have this very high frequency and perfect dimming performance from them.
Well, let's really torture the unit for a bit. Guys, this one's going to take a little bit longer. A lot of these theatrical designers will want to look at the last 10% of dimming, and they'll want to do that over 30 seconds. So Ben, let's see what 30 seconds looks like only with that 10% dimming.
Notice as this goes down from 10% to 0 that there's no flicker, there's no pop, there's no shuddering. It just dims the way it should and the way you expect it would. I have never seen an LED-based fixture that could dim like this.
Ben, tell us about the selectable redshift.
So redshift in this fixture is quite advanced actually. It's a new system that we developed in-house. Because we have that 60-watt RGB LED, that's one way it does it. There's several different methods, and the fixture is actually intelligent enough to know how to use redshift and where to use redshift and what method to do it. There's several different ways the fixture can actually do it and emulate that effect. So if the fixture's just in an open white, the normal 6,000 Kelvin, it'll use the CTO flag to dim it as it dims down and gets nice and warm. If you're in a CTO color like 3200 Kelvin, it'll use the magenta and yellow flags. It knows that, oh, CTO is already being used, I can't use that. So it uses another method to create that redshift. And if you're in some wonky color, a mix of like magenta and the CTO flag and maybe a little bit of blue in this really weird color, it'll actually use all the flags and that RGB LED to create that same effect. So it uses whatever it has available to it to create the effect and create it properly. The redshift on this is very smooth, very believable, and I personally haven't seen one that's done better than this.
Talking about control, Maverick Silens 2 Profile offers an unprecedented level of detailed and accurate control in lighting applications. Let's talk about beam shape.
Our beam shaping module is our shutter and iris module. We have a standard iris in there that closes down. It does not close all the way, but it closes very narrow so you can get that iris down effect if you want. And we also have our 4-blade shutter system. The 4 blades have 60 degrees of plus or minus rotation, so 120 degrees of total. And each of the 4 blades is capable of fully wiping across. So it is a 4-plane system. This is a great system to have, especially if you're trying to position a cut in some weird part of the beam up on top. You can move it, and it's very precise. You can cut down extremely small diameters and know it's going to be repeatable every time.
What about frost?
Frost. So this is very interesting. I got a little story I can tell you about this. So when we first started the fixture and developing the fixture, we originally had 2 frosts in it. We had a light and a heavy. That was your choices, light and heavy. We did some market research and some beta testing. We previewed the fixture in its first rough prototype form to some pretty influential designers. And one thing became extremely obvious to me as we were doing that. Everybody said, yeah, your frosts are great, but I want it to be this frost. And the next designer said, I want one of those frosts to be this one. We had probably 50 different frosts that people wanted in this fixture, and obviously that's not capable. So I went back to the management team and I said, we got to develop a variable frost system for this fixture. So we went back to the drawing board. Again, no compromises. And we developed a new completely variable frost system. The frost system in this uses 2 flags that rotate in, and it is 100% variable. It goes from an extremely light frost that you can barely perceive to a nice heavy frost that really completely fuzzes out almost any gobo. And when it does that, you don't have any edges, you don't have any parts where you see part of it's frosted and part of it's not. It is one of the best, smoothest variable frost systems I've ever seen, and we're very proud of it. And again, is another case of where we listen to the customers, we listen to the designers, and we push our own limits and our own comfort zone to come out with the best system we can and put it into a fixture so that everybody can enjoy it.
Let's not forget about GOBO selection and animation wheel.
Yeah, of course. Gobos are the heart of most any profile or spot moving head. What we did differently on this fixture, because we wanted this fixture to be for the performing arts environment, we designed a GOBO package that was designed for projection. These aren't aerial gobos. They're not going to give you all of those beautiful aerial effects with lots of haze that we're used to in the rental and production and concert market, because most of the use for gobos in theatrical is to project texture. To that end, we decided we wanted to design our own gobos. So the entire package of gobos in here is designed in-house by our team and specifically for these theatrical markets. There's a rotating gobo wheel that has 7 gobos on it and a static gobo wheel that has 8 gobos on it. What's unique is that these gobos are interchangeable between the wheels. They are the same size, so all you have to do is change the carrier. So if you have a gobo on the static wheel that you want to rotate, pop it out, change the carrier, pop it back in. We even include a couple extra carriers in the kit with the fixture so that you don't have to worry about, if you're up on the truss trying to change these out, you can do it ahead of time. You don't have to try and do it while you're hanging from the scaffolding. We also have an animation wheel in there. It's a pretty standard animation wheel, so you can do those layered effects and get that beautiful motion. So one thing I want you to take a look at here is the optics. Look at how flat this projection is. We spent a ton of time developing the optical train on this fixture to create this beautiful flat field that allows you to focus on the gobo. And you can focus on it from any beam angle, all the way narrow to all the way tight, and get that same perfect focus across the entire field. It is beautiful, and I am so proud of the way this came out on the fixture.
So I'm a huge fan of using the way you can use 5-facet Prism with virtual strobe in Mavericks. Maverick Silens has a similar feature, correct?
It does, but we kind of took it to the next level. So we still have a 5-facet Prism, and that 5-facet Prism can come in and rotate and do everything that a 5-facet Prism does. But we've also improved on our virtual strobe. In the other Maverick fixtures, our virtual strobe is a 2-section thing because it has that standard light engine layout like we were talking about. Now remember when I talked about the light engine in this fixture being different, that this light engine is ring shaped. That allows us to break that ring into sections. So now we, instead of having just a 2-section virtual strobe, we have a 5-section virtual strobe. And while we call it virtual strobe, it's so much more. It allows you to layer in some really cool effects. With that ring, you can step through each one of those sections, or you can fade through them. It allows you to create this effect here. This effect here is literally the virtual strobe, the prism, a split color, and a gobo. There's no actual physical motion going on here at all. Again, you're getting animation with no movement, which means no noise. Cool effects that you can't accomplish with any other fixture on the market because of that virtual strobe. It's really something you have to see to appreciate firsthand, because the effects that this thing can generate are second to none and can't be created by anybody else.
Wow, that's impressive.
So besides the virtual strobe, we still have a traditional electronic strobe in this fixture. As I mentioned, this fixture is a very high power LED. So if you use the strobe channel, you'll notice that you'll get an extra little punch of brightness out of it. A couple lighting designers were saying, you know, if you're doing the lightning effect, it would really be great if we could get just a little more punch out of it. And my brain started working, and we thought, well, of course we can do that because we're not pushing the LED as hard during those phases. So there you go, 20% more output out of the strobe.
So is there anything else unique that we'd like to point out in terms of control for the unit?
So in terms of control for the unit, everything you've come to know and love about Maverick is here for the most part. The display, the menu system, the touchscreen, the connections, all of that stuff is carried over from the rest of the Maverick line, with one major exception. There is a wireless module in this fixture, and it's a Lumen Radio CRMX wireless module instead of a WDMX module from Wireless Solution. We made this change because of a lot of market feedback that, especially in the broadcast market, CRMX was very critical to them to be successful in the fixture. So we made that change and shifted over to CRMX for the Silens.
Now let's hear what Maverick Silens has to say. From curtain to camera, no compromises, no fans, just silence. If you guys would like to have more information on Maverick Silens 2 Profile or are interested in a virtual demo, check out our website at www.chauvetprofessional.com.